Welcome back to the Hoops Temple Pod. Y'all know me, Nathan Schwartz. Joining me from Sacramento, Aaron Schroeder.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good to be here.
And joining us from New Zealand, Dylan Williamson.
Hello. Said to check that I wasn't muted. That's what that pause was about.
Good. Since we're all doing fine, we're not muted here, except for Aaron just muted himself. But for some reason, this is personal hell week for all of us. My Lakers lost by 20 points to the Magic. Aaron's Kings lost to the Rockets in embarrassing fashion. And Dylan's team traded for James Harden.
I was like, what are you talking about? Hell week for me. We just traded for a superstar. We got the second best net rating in the league. Like, why is this hell week?
Does that mean you are actually excited for James Harden? Because I feel like he's the antithesis of everything you love in basketball.
No, I love James Harden. I've always loved James Harden. I'm the one NBA fan that actually likes people drawing fouls. Like whenever guys go to the line 20 times a game, I'm like, this is some good basketball. Like this is good shit right here. But yeah, like I think I've said this before. Like the Clippers were in a position where you can't just like keep running it back as like your role players get older. Like you've failed and you're going to get worse just by the progression of some of these guys you're relying on getting older. And so they need to make a swing. This was like probably the best option that was available. You know, you're probably not going to get like OG Anunoby or, Miles Turner for what we had available. And so like you had to do something, and this is a reasonable, a reasonable swing.
James Harden, because the cost of Miles Turner was too high. That's what we're saying here.
Yeah, you go down the list of quality NBA players, and you get to James Harden.
How do we feel this? How do we feel this makes changes for the Clippers? Does this boost them in title contention?
I want to comment on how good the Clippers have been playing this season first. Their net rating has been incredible. Kawhi played a back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, he played a back. Like that's insane. Like that is insane progress. And they look healthy, and they have Westbrook playing well, and their bench looks good. I just like when I close my eyes and I imagine someone holding up the Larry O'Brien trophy, it's not Paul George and James Harden. It's just like there's so many other like guys that I'm like that looks right in my head before it gets to them. And is that a shitty like argument based in nothing? Like, kind of, but the James Harden business is just it's a scary place to be in. Every franchise's best day is when they trade for him, and their second best day, they trade him away. It's eventually you'll be happy to get rid of him. I just don't really know. I don't know if I need to see it. I guess I need to see it before I completely understand the fit. I feel like having someone like Harden kind of neutralizes what like Russell Westbrook and Bones Highland are doing, because I just can't picture them being especially all three, but even two of them on the court at the same time.
You wouldn't put Bones out there with Harden, and I mean maybe you'd have him out there with Westbrook. They have had him out there with Westbrook. I was listening to Zach Lowe kind of break it down and how they would match up against Denver, and Zach was very pro what this would do for the Clippers, because of this is now really hard to defend, and I don't know that I see it as that hard to defend, because there is still only one ball, and all right, so if we're matching them up and they're going against the Clippers, you put Aaron Gordon maybe against Kawhi, maybe it's against Paul George. You put KCP against Harden, or Kawhi, and then like you end up having to put Michael Porter Jr. on someone. I'm not that scared. Michael Porter Jr., he's not a great defender, but he really tried a lot last season in the playoffs and wasn't terrible. And he's got enough length and wingspan that when they went up against Phoenix, he did okay defending in Devin Booker in situations. Like, if this is your grand plan, is that we're going to play iso ball all playoff long and force Michael Porter Jr. to defend, iso ball is just not that efficient.
Does the resurrection of Russell Westbrook as a competent NBA player sort of give you any hope that maybe James Harden could follow a similar trajectory, where these two guys have sort of, been on the decline, falling out of favor, with a lot of fans and analysts, and have come to a situation where maybe they're put in a better position to succeed than they had been previously.
I don't trust it. Like, well, Harden, or not Harden, Westbrook. We came here on here last pod, and we're like, yeah, he's averaging like an efficient 7 points, and he's moving the ball. Well, since then, he's averaging over 20, or like last several games, 19, 18, 24. His shots have gone way up. The efficiency started to drop. But I'm like, well, he's back to doing Westbrook ball. And sure, one or two of those games came after the trade before they got the players. So, like, you had to do more. But
It's either him or Kobe Brown.
yeah.
I guess I want to ask, what does Westbrook do well right now? And I mean, go ahead, just list some attributes that you like from Westbrook. This isn't a sarcastic question. Like, he has things he does. He has things he
Yeah.
like. He has things I
I
like:
mean,
effort and defense, and right.
yeah, I
And
mean, it's tricky because probably the biggest thing that he brought to the Clippers was just a guy that's can get you into your offense and particularly push the pace in transition. Those aren't things that work well with James Harden. James Harden's not going to run in transition. Like, he wants to bring the ball up and slow it down and get to favorable mismatches and exploit weak defenders. And so that is a little bit of a tough fit. Just in that Harden's biggest strength is, the exact opposite of the way that Westbrook's able to bring value to the team.
completely, I feel like the defense and the hustle, and I mean the fact that Westbrook is an Iron Man. He plays every game. He's consistent. He'll play as many minutes as he like, even as he gets older. And when the talent and athleticism goes away from Harden, I just don't see that kind of transition into, let's like what Jason Kidd became at the end of his career. Like, still one of the best perimeter defenders, still a great playmaker, and plays every game. Or what Westbrook's doing right now. I didn't see that transition from Westbrook into, like, I'm okay not taking shots, and he's, at least in the beginning of the season, he had done that. I don't really see that coming from Harden, and since like 2021, he's been averaging like 18 points on 39% shooting in the playoffs, and that's like, he's just not a very good scorer anymore. And so I just want to see him impact the game in ways that move me.
Is it weird to say I feel like they're going to miss Nick Batum? Like, Batum has looked cooked this year. I mean, 2.7 points, 1.7 in assists. But in the past couple of years, he has been a good connective piece of just like, let me get out there, hustle, defend. I'm going to catch and shoot when I'm open. I'm not going to play when I'm not. And I really hope that he can kind of resurrect and have a good final year in Philadelphia. We should probably also talk about the Philadelphia side of things. The 76ers got 2 first-round picks and a swap, as well as 2 seconds. And then probably inconsequential players to their season this year: Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, and Robert Covington. Happy to have Rocco back in Philadelphia. But what do you guys think about this does for Philly?
It's kind of addition by subtraction. Not that Harden was bad, but that he's gone finally. That cloud's not hanging over you, and you got a ton of assets. And the players aren't great, but they're flippable. And I'm not sure if they're going to pivot to some other star. I heard Zach LaVine. I think that's a terrible idea. I almost rather just wait it out a little bit and find someone that fits better, or just ride it out with Maxey and Embiid, who I really like right now. I think the cap flexibility and the extra assets was a great move.
Right, and like the on-court upgrade is probably not massive. Like, you do get 2 guys who are have been able to be competent role players before. Nate was saying that Batum's looking pretty washed, which has been true over sort of the last, probably since last year, really, where the offense is very limited. But he's like still really good as like a connective piece. Like, he's such a quick decision maker. If you leave him wide open, he can hit a spot up 3. And he's still like a really smart and strong defender. And so we saw, earlier this season, he was still the 5th guy in the Clippers closing unit. Like, he was the one playing center when we were, in that close game against Utah, for example. And so I think that he still does have something to offer to the Sixers, and is probably quite a reasonable fit alongside Embiid, just that type of player that you'd want. But the big thing for Philly is that, like Aaron said, these are expiring contracts, which are effectively neutral value. You attach assets to those contracts to bring in better players, or they're expiring, and Philadelphia can have max cap space in the off season, which is huge for them. KJ Martin is another guy that they brought in who's potentially a role player caliber of guy who can maybe find his way into the rotation, and he's also got a very low cap hold, so they can retain him as well as bringing in using their cap space.
Have you heard the Trojan horse theory that this trade frees up close to 2 max slots, or with this trade, Philly will have close to 2 max slots? That's for this upcoming free agency. And Harden is now going to the Clippers with 2 max free agents, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Could he be disruptive enough that they're looking for more fertile championship grounds?
I love that. Just trade Harden to the team whose players you want, and he's like, they'll fuck it up enough. Well, they'll be in Philly in no time. Just to touch on the role players really quickly, like the Sixers were playing like Danny Green got 9 minutes in 2 games, 9 minutes a game, and shot 0% from the field. Like they're playing Daniel House Jr. If you can replace those guys with like Batum, like I kind of like Batum over what Danny Green was bringing in 2023, almost 2024.
Yeah.
The Clippers definitely increased their volatility. The chance for just like a historic implosion is there, but I mean, I can't deny that the ceiling is higher.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the big thing is like when you're the Clippers and you're trying to win a championship, and you know that like what you've got isn't enough sort of swings at the ball to get you to the championship. There's going into any game, there's a 20% chance that James Harden has a good game, and there's a 20% chance that Paul George has a good game, and there's a 20% chance that Kawhi's so good that it doesn't matter who else is playing well, he can just carry you. And you add up all those percentages, it gets you closer to a championship.
I like it. I really want to see how the new small ball 5 looks. I think they'll look fine with Zubac in there, but I want to see the Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi, Paul George, and PJ Tucker 5. That just strikes me as really interesting. I had a segue, but I forgot.
Gotta stop pretending that PJ Tucker's good. Gotta stop, guys. It's over. You have to stop pretending. It's okay.
I mean,
okay.
you need someone to guard the opposing team's best player and hold them to an efficient 30 points. Not everyone can do that.
Efficient 30. That might be a little bit generous. I just bashed on Batum stats, but PJ is averaging an efficient 1.5 points per game on 33% from the field in a fair amount of minutes.
Well, he plays 40 minutes a game and takes 2 shots. And I understand defense and tangibles. He's got that dog in him, dog per 36 metrics and stuff like that. I just can't get into it. I'm done. I mean, he was a very, very effective role player and was the heart of some great Houston teams. They needed someone like a super small ball center that could shoot threes, and he was that. But he's like 38 right now, isn't he?
He's old.
Yeah, I mean, he is like a good fit around the Clippers though, because they like to play that way. Like they've been really successful in the past with going to sort of a 5-out switching unit. And like PJ Tucker at the very least is like a body that you can just like throw on a dude when you don't want Kawhi or Paul George covering them the whole game.
He will turn 39 in the playoffs.
Wow.
Jokic
39.
stopper? Do you think there's some Jokic stopper potential there?
Jokic food, man. He's eating that guy up. Yeah, right. I mean, he's going to be guarding him. And Jokic is going to have like 45, 15, and 10 on 20 of 25 shooting.
Well, the Clippers do actually have, they got Zoo and they got Plumlee.
Yeah.
So, if they have to go big for a series, yes, more Jokic food, but it's not as bad as putting 6'5" PJ Tucker on him.
I mean, Mason Plumlee might be worse than putting a 6'5" guy on.
Well,
it's not just that he's defensively inept. It's also that Jokic is like, I remember I had to come off the bench for you, and I remember I had to play fucking power forward next to you. and space the floor for you to post up.
The
Like,
vengeance game.
it's vengeance.
I mean, that is if the Nuggets can make it past the juggernaut that is the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have suddenly figured out offense and defense and destroyed the Nuggets a few games ago.
That is true. They did do that. Yeah, that was a surprise. I didn't catch that one. And then I mean that when my box score watching that was the most shocking one. I told people the Timberwolves have been good. They're the best defense in the league currently. Gobert is still a very good defensive player.
Yeah. Can he score? No. But you've got
No.
the two other players that can do that. The combo does work better with Mike Conley. They still have their rough patches, and like there are times where they kind of turn it to the bench and Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm like, sometimes it looks good. Sometimes it looks like Towns is just trying way too hard to get his shot up because he's like, I'm not getting enough touches with the starters. But I'm still high on what Minnesota can be, and they've not been bad this year.
The transition from Edwards to Karl Anthony Towns has been basically in full force. They've been Towns taking less shots. He's averaging 18 points per game, where Edwards is up to 26. Although uncharacteristically bad shooting from Towns, currently at 26%. And he's a career 40% shooter from three. I'm guessing he'll figure that out. Didn't really anticipate that, but the Wolves definitely have something, some stuff that I like for sure with their rotation. And
yeah, the self-proclaimed best big man shooter of all time. We'd hope that he'd be able to figure it out as we get later into the season. But isn't this just sort of the team that those of us who are high on this, sort of as a regular season team, isn't this just the kind of play that we were expecting? Like, you get Gobert in to anchor the defense. You're really big in the front line, which makes it hard to score. You've got really good athleticism on the wing. McDaniels has become one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and Anthony Edwards can he can turn it on at times. And this is like what we expected coming into last season, or at least what I expected coming into last season. And it just took a season for them to figure it out.
Yeah, potential defensive player of the year candidate, Jaden McDaniels. Did you see that Shams tweet?
I do remember that. When he got signed the extension, he's like,
yeah,
defensive player of the year candidate. I'm like, all right. You know who's been insanely good? Naz Reid. 16 points per game for Naz Reid. He's like, I love his athleticism. He can space the floor, great free throw shooter. Just kind of he's great. I like him in transition. It just feels like they're just mismatched hell, like when they get going. Basically all over the place. They have like 3 7-footers they play, basically.
I really enjoy the two big lineups. It's unique. It's something different that we haven't seen for a little bit. Everyone kind of went small. It went with interchangeable, and Minnesota's like, we're gonna double down because our bigs are skilled and can do multiple things. And I like something unique.
Well, with Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid, you kind of swung the other way when centers got. I mean, with like people tried the small ball thing, but like the key to that is Draymond Green. Like if you had Draymond, you could do it. You have your death lineup, but if you don't have like this crazy 6'8" switchable defensive player, it's not going to be super effective or as effective.
You're saying the Rockets can't do a small ball, switchable, interchangeable lineup
with Westbrook, like in 2020?
No, with Şengün and Van Vliet.
He's a center. That's a center. That's a regular lineup. It looked great last night, though.
Yeah. How are you feeling about your Kings?
Awful. I feel terrible. We lost to the Warriors in like heartbreaking fashion. Clay hits a game winner. I had already chalked that up as a loss, and the fact that we were kind of in it was cool. So that didn't hurt as bad, but then we got blown out by Houston. We held them to 12 third quarter points and still were trailing heading into the fourth. And they got blown out by 15 in the fourth period alone. It was like 77-79 heading into the fourth. Like we were right there, and we got smoked. We made Jabari Smith look really good. I still like Jabari Smith, but man, like it's honestly, it was kind of crazy, like seeing the Rockets and I almost understood their off season for a second. Like Van Fleet was like dishing and he was driving and kicking and like hitting pull up threes, and I under like really helping guys like Jalen Green and guys like Jabari Smith get their looks. I'm like, man, like, are the Rockets better than us? Like, did they surpass us this offseason? Like, Dylan Brooks has been awesome. Like, I'd rather have Brooks than Barnes or Herter.
Yeah, Kevin Huerter continuing his cold streak that he picked up, I think, in the playoffs of just randomly forgetting how to shoot after being absolutely awesome last year, is the regression to the mean in terms of shooting that the Kings really didn't need.
It's not the mean; it's a regression to the league worst. I don't want to. I don't want that. What's crazy about the stats though is with Sabonis, if like with the cleaning the glass numbers, the Kings are actually really good defensively when he's out there, and that's what I've seen. I think he's gotten much better at switching on the perimeter. Like he's not some lumbering giant anymore, and defending the rim, like he's had some nice moments and he's pretty consistent. But we're in the 4th percentile for points per 100 when he's out there. Like I just don't understand what's going on with his offense and why our shots aren't falling.
It's a tricky thing with Sabonis because I feel like one of the things that he does best is that screen handoff action on the perimeter. And that gets other people going that, allows Herter to get his shot off. Or Doug McDermott was like the biggest recipient of that for years. We'll talk more about Dougie McBuckets.
McBuckets.
But when he does that, he is no longer an offensive threat. He is he is an offensive hub. Where he's most deadly is if you get it down to him on the block, and that just you start putting it down to him on the block. Now he's not passing as well. It's why he is not Jokic. It's why he is not a superstar, but why he's more in like the 18 to 25 best players as opposed to a 15 or better type of guy.
I just want to mention about Doug McDermott. When the Bulls drafted him, they were like 28th in offense. And I was certain, like 14-year-old me was positive that because they were like a top 5 defense. And I was like, Doug McDermott's taking this team all the way. Like he's the scoring difference that we need. I didn't understand quite yet what I was getting myself into, but
I remember Mike Dunleavy's career, and people started comparing him to Mike Dunleavy, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's not going to be good.
I think I remember that Bulls team because back at that time, I'd like to find like the worst team in 2K or like a really bad team and like rebuild them. And I remember going into the Bulls once and just being like, oh shit, like this is too difficult. Like there's just nothing to work with here.
That 2015 team, and they did end up winning 50 games with 11th on offense and defense. But Mike Dunleavy played 63 games at 29 minutes per game. McDermott stuck on the bench at 9 minutes per game. If only, man, if only they knew that he was Dunleavy's successor. My frustrations with Sabonis, I mean, you're totally right about his passing and whatnot. Because he's when he gets those handoffs right now, like what is a Kevin Herter handoff 3? Like last season, at some point, I think it was the last decade by points per shot, essentially, or points per possession. It was like Harden ISOs, Jokic post ups, and Kevin Herter handoff 3s were generating like an absurd amount of points. And now he's shooting 22% from 3. Keegan's been cold. Harrison Barnes is not that good at basketball. And you end up with like Fox and Monk carrying this team offensively and Sabonis came out like last week and basically said, I know you guys want me to take shots. If I start taking those shots, our offense isn't what it is, which is this passing and facilitating thing, right? Get guys open. He basically said, find someone else that can shoot. Stop asking me. So that's not coming anytime soon.
I appreciate that though, because like one thing that Mike Brown has always done is he's shown a large amount of confidence in his shooters, like even so much so that when Keegan Murray passes up that shot, he's like, I'm going to pull you because you're passing up open shots and I need you to keep shooting.
Sure. I've had no Mike Brown complaints.
But I like that Sabonis has that buy-in to say like, hey, I'm not going to just take over the offense and start shooting a ton. Like I'm going to continue to do these passing, these setup plays because I think that is what's best for the team. So that's good to hear from a star.
For sure. He still leads the league in rebounds per game. That's nice.
And
I like Fox back though.
regardless, you're in a better position than you guys were last year.
That's true. 0-4 last year, and then now we're 2-3. Yeah, we're gonna play Houston again, and then Portland, and it's fine. Like I'm really not freaking out. I'm just frustrated. Before we move on, my last King's speech is JaVale McGee's been pretty good. The plus minus numbers are honestly kind of insane. Like when he's out there with Malik Monk, like Monk's finishing ability and JaVale's lob threat ability has been like kind of awesome. Like it was last season, it was Sabonis Herter handoffs, and now it's Monk McGee pick and rolls where McGee still is like super athletic and has great hands and just eats up rebounds. He's playing about 12 minutes per game, so I can't get like too into it. But that's what I anticipated was 12 minutes, and it's been 12 really good minutes, which is kind of nuts after last season's like backup center rotation from hell. Yeah.
Yeah. I did find myself watching the Warriors play the other day. I was like, man, if only they had an Alex Len. Like, Len would be really nice. Because they just needed size. They were getting demolished on the boards, but they're fine. We'll talk more about the Warriors as the season goes on. Right now, I want to talk about the other center that's been dominating, been playing very well. Although I guess he's not a center.
Dominating? Wait, which way are we going with this?
This was a really terrible segue. I'm trying to get us over to San Antonio because I want to talk some Wembanyama.
That was going to be DeAndre Ayton. Okay, never mind.
God, no. I watched the Blazers play the Grizzlies because I'm really into this. I'm really into Memphis getting a win. I believe it will happen. I believe it will happen tonight in between us recording this podcast and us posting this podcast. But like, God, the Blazers have stuff. If they played Williams, Ayton, Grant, Sharp, and
Simons,
Brogdon. Did I say Simmons? I don't know. So the four guys that they have plus Simmons, the four established players, that would be a good lineup. If you play the four without Simmons, that play-by-play stats, they're like plus 25 per 100 possessions in 12 minutes, which is a horribly small sample size, but they have competent players, not many of them, but enough that like they could cobble together an okay squad for a few minutes, and they don't want to do it. They want to lean into the tank. And so hopefully those guys will get traded.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant being on this team makes zero sense. Like they need to get him out of the way. Like the fact that Malcolm Brogdon's like got the ball and he's like, should I pass it to Shaden Sharp, who's this, 19-year-old super dynamic ball handler, super athletic, can create a shot, or should I pass it to Jeremy Grant? He's like, I'm going to pass it to Jeremy Grant so you can go do a mid-post ISO. Like, get that man out of the way.
I had at my Portland preview, I mean, I had them as one of the worst teams in the West. I still think like when teams get to 5 wins, it's like, hey, they're 5-4, but to get to 20 wins, that's 15 more wins. That's a lot more wins to go grab. And I made a point that with Jeremy Grant, I hated the fit with him next to basically a bunch of other shooters. And Simons isn't even, he got thumb surgery. He's not even a part of this, and I still feel like Jeremy Grant's in the way. Because Shaden Sharp's been really good. The counting stats are there.
Mhm.
I kind of figured it'd be a little too early for him, just in terms of like he's like this raw, this crazy athlete. And last season was just a wreck. Just crazy for him. He was all up and down, and he's been pretty good. So yeah, get Jeremy Grant the fuck out of here.
It might not be saying much, but there were moments in that Memphis game where Shaden Sharp was the best player, just in the game. And like, I know Memphis is missing a bunch of people, and we have a couple of questions from TikTok, so we'll have to be quick in trying to answer those so we can clip it up and put it in on TikTok. But Sharp looked really good. He attacked the basket well. Last couple of plays of regulation, he drove and kicked to Grant, and it was a miss, but it was a good drive and kick. They got the ball back, and he drove and attacked and wasn't able to finish, but he got fouled and tied it up at the line. Like he's going to develop. I think there's a really bright future for Sharp. You guys want to do some of those TikTok questions?
Yeah, please.
All right. We're just going to stick with the Grizzlies. So we got 2 of them, one from Dummy, one from Frederick, and they both equal out to why do the Grizzlies suck?
Go ahead, Dylan.
I think the first thing is that they are the worst offense in the league. Like the defense is mediocre, which you'd hope to be better given that they got the reigning defensive player of the year on the team and the former defensive player of the year. Like you'd expect the defense would be better than I think it's like 18th or something around that. But they're the worst offense in the league, and like that kind of makes sense when you look at this roster, just from a perspective of what are the advantages that Memphis has offensively. What are the ways that they can create an advantage? They don't have great playmaking. They don't have great shooting. They don't have great individual players or post players or great passing. It's like, what is their advantage to create offense?
Yeah, that was on full display as Marcus Smart had multiple near turnovers at the end of regulation and then overtime against the Blazers. Like the man dribbled into the middle, almost lost the ball, tipped it out, and got a Luke Kennard three that got blocked by Sharp or
By
to
Shannon
end
Sharp, yeah.
regulation. Yeah, but that was very nearly a turnover, and then like near the end of overtime, he drives in, kind of loses it, makes an errant wild pass. Like the man is averaging 5.5 assists and 4.2 turnovers. I got the stats pulled up here. Like it's not good. You don't have anyone to create for anyone else. Desmond Bane is really good as like a catch and shoot. Like let me play off of other stars, but even against Portland, he wasn't really creating. Like if there's a team to be like, I'm gonna show my stuff, it was probably Portland. I'm still very confident that in the rematch tonight they're going to win, but
That'd be
they just don't
devastating.
have anything.
I think I saw that no 0-6 team has ever made the playoffs. Teams have started, like, remember the Pelicans a while back were like 1-12 and they end up making the
Mhm.
playoffs. So you can have a
Mhm.
worse record, but in terms of most losses that'll win, that's a pretty unique group. I think the issue with Memphis and everything you guys said is right, but it comes down to the half their team is missing. Like
Yeah.
this is just not the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, obviously John Morant's out, Brandon Clark, Steven Adams, Santi Aldama, John Conchar, Derrick Rose is day to day, and I don't even know if they'd like him to play. I mean, he's always going to have those knee issues and be day to day. But when they're running the Rose Marcus Smart point guard stuff in 2023, you're not going to be facilitating at a high level. And I saw some stuff about like, oh, the Grizzlies should blow it up or something. That's still
No.
ridiculous. I mean, maybe sneakily find a way to have a bad record. That's something. But like, these are all great pieces. They still have John Morant. It's still a great roster. Like, take a deep breath.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna read the ages of some of their guys. Desmond Bane is 25. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 24. Zaire Williams, 22. Tillman, 25. Roddy, 22. Jake LaRavia, 22. Kenny Lofton Jr., 21. They have a good number of young guys is in this mix that will continue to get better. There's no need to like blow it up and all right, we have to trade away Jaren Jackson Jr. because he can't lead a team anywhere. No, just wait for Ja to get back, regroup, take this season as a loss. Anyone gets hurt, milk it for all you got, keep him out as long as possible, get a top 5 pick or something, and just keep building. Like it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there's one thing that could give you hope for the Grizzlies, um, other than just injuries, is that they're losing quite a few close games. They have the biggest differential between their expected win based on point differential and their actual wins in the league. Like they've already lost more than one game fewer than, sorry, already lost more than one game more than expected. So they're losing close games. They are kind of hanging in it.
Mhm.
Maybe some of that shooting comes along and they get better. But yeah, like this is not your Grizzlies team of yesteryear where you've got Kyle Anderson and Tyus Jones and D'Anthony Melton who can, just all these really competent players that you can sort of throw together a decent NBA team with.
Yeah. And like the continuity factor is also kind of gone. You no longer have Dylan Brooks. You no longer or have Tyus Jones. D'Anthony Melton was there 2 years ago. Like, as we kind of move further and further away from that stretch 2 seasons ago where they were good without Ja, everyone keeps saying, "Oh, they're good without Ja." Well, no, this is a different group. So why do they suck? Their offense sucks. Why does their offense suck? Because all of their guys are gone. Should they blow it up? No. Boom. TikToked. We got this one. Second TikTok question.
I'll just say before you move on, I do like the idea of the stealth tank. Like
Yes.
this it's a lost season. Maybe Jar's got a knee injury and he sits out the rest of the year.
Sorry about
This
that,
is the
guys.
kind of season that can sort of turn this franchise into a real championship contender. If this season goes badly enough that you can get that top 5 pick.
That's important. Second TikTok question from not this Dylan, but another Dylan. Why are the Pistons playing Killian Hayes so much? He sucks. He's worse than Marcus Sasser. Why is he in there? I might have added or taken some liberties with the question, but that's the basic gist.
From what I can see, he's pretty good defensively, and
Mhm.
Monty Williams is into that. And it's a pretty short answer. I had said preseason, I think we all kind of said that Monty Williams isn't the kind of guy that's going to play young players for the sake of development. Like, he's going to come in and play the best player, even if the development isn't there. And so Killian is still super young, but I don't think they're worried about, like, well, what's Jaden Ivey going to be? Jaden Ivey kind of sucks right now, and so he's not playing. Like, he's not going to get out there. And right now they're just they're trying to win games, although not very good at it. Have to mention that I had made a video when the Pistons were 2-1, and I said the Pistons are actually really good right now, like playing like pretty good basketball. It's awesome, Star Thompson's defense and Jalen Duren's rebounding and Kate Cunningham, and they just got obliterated by the Suns. They're now 2-5. I said I'd eat I said I'd eat a Pistons ticket if they won more than 30 games, and I think I'm safe. I think I'm safe.
You gotta stop betting to eat things.
It's okay. It was just it was the Pistons, and it was one more. I forget. It was the Pistons over 30 games. And someone said on that Pistons video, like, what do you think the ticket's gonna taste like? So people do remember. Like, people remember that. I said that in a different video too. Like, I commented that on someone else's video. Like, they're keeping track of this stuff.
Cleaning the glass expected wins of 39 for the Detroit Pistons.
Fuck. Hey, 2-5 is hard. 2-5 is hard to come back from. Do you think 28 more wins for the Pistons? I don't know.
So the one thing that I see when they play Killian Hayes that I really like, and I still have some Killian Hayes stock, not a ton. I bought the stock when it's very low, when everyone's like he's the worst player ever. I bought it last season. It is the ball movement in addition to the defense. Like, Jaden Ivey gets out there and he drives, he attacks, makes the basket. He could shoot better than Killian Hayes. But dear God, if he ever passes the ball, that's when I might eat a ticket. I don't know. He passes
You guys
at least
have
once
to
a game,
get
but
in
like,
on this.
it's just Killian Hayes moves the ball well, and like when he passes to Sar Thompson, Thompson's not really a scorer, so like the combo having him and Hayes out there does not work well. I think once Bogdanovich is back, one of them will probably move to the bench, and you'll just have like the supersized lineup out there. And then it'll all work a lot better because you'll be passing to a capable shooter. But that's why Hayes is out there, is defense and passing.
Answered our question. I think we should preseason next year. We need to have our ticket bets, which is we all pick a team that we're so sure is going to go under, like the Vegas line, that if not, at the end of the season, we all come on and we eat a ticket together. It's just us three kind of munching on paper for an hour.
The problem is that they don't sell paper tickets anymore.
You can still, you have to buy it and then you print it. The thing is, if this happens, Nate, I'm buying a ticket and I email it to you so you could go to the game. It might be like you might be sitting up there with God, but like I'm gonna, I have to, I'd have to buy it and print it out, and it's not an actual paper. I think that's better, because if it's like the actual ticket, there's like lamination and shit on that. But if it's just like printer ink, I can handle that.
Pistons Pelicans tickets were $3 earlier this week.
Guys.
You're good.
Keep the camera on. Let's get some more views going.
Yeah, Pistons Pelicans tickets were $3 earlier this week. Unfortunately, the game was in New Orleans, so that
Yeah. Seeing stuff like that makes me like is the time where I'm like most like want to be living in the US. Like the fact that you could just like go out on like a Tuesday and be like, oh, I'll just go to an NBA game. It's $3. Like, yeah,
yeah. If you want to be dissuaded from moving to the US, we're already at like 500 mass shootings this year, so
oh yeah, like there's a lot of downsides, but the one thing in the positive box is like you can just go to an NBA game on a whim.
yeah. I really hope Aaron listens to this pod and is just like, what the fuck did they talk about while I was gone? Oh, okay. Just
Yeah.
sneak
We
that
got
one
to
in
say
there.
something problematic. Aaron's the one that keeps us in check. This is our chance to get off some really spicy
Exactly.
content.
Exactly. Oh, he's
Sorry,
back.
my work is in flux at the moment. I guess we had a bunch of caregivers call out, so there's a bunch of like geriatric old people running amok at my work, and they're trying to get people to come in. I am going in. I'm going in later, but like at 4. I told them 4 o'clock. I said I'm podcasting right now.
Fair enough. We said
They
nothing
can wait.
problematic while you were gone.
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You
So
guys should know
Wembanyama, anyone?
my ticket. All right, you got next season. We're making ticket bets. You guys are gonna put it on the line. Say I will buy a ticket, and then I will eat it on there if blanky blank. All right.
All right. We're gonna do our last TikTok question, and then which is from our pal Crush Talk Sports, which is just Tatum for MVP? Question mark. How we feeling?
The Celtics are the best team in the league currently by record, by net rating, and usually best player on best team equals MVP. But I don't know. He feels like the 3rd place candidate. Can you? I don't know.
Third.
Can you? I don't know. Just can you
Third.
imagine like him getting enough over like what Jokic is doing or what Luke is doing right now? And can you guys see that?
I can. And he is
No?
third actually in Basketball References MVP tracker, which is usually horrid. It's not usually a good tracker. But I was just like pulled up because I was like, man, I've been watching so many games. I've watched 24 games this season and already. But like I haven't been paying attention to stats, so I don't know if like I'm just catching guys on good nights or bad nights. Tatum is at 30 points, 9 rebounds, almost 10 rebounds, 3.5 assists on a 5-0 Celtics team. And I do not know when Boston loses their first game. They have so many cupcake opponents. Their freaking league or their in-season tournament just cakewalk
Yeah,
teams.
the NBA's really helped them to figure out these new pieces.
Yeah. I would still personally go with Jokic at the moment. I mean, the ease in which this man is dominating has been really impressive, and I would say that what he is doing is more for his team than what Tatum's doing. But I think he's definitely still in the race, and I think Luka's team will eventually stop winning games at this rate and will fall back. So I think it's a 2-horse race right now.
Yeah, and it'll just come to, it could be similar to last year where it comes down to, Jokic is sort of the favorite of most of the season. It gets late. There gets to be some, media buzz, and Jokic doesn't take winning an MVP that seriously.
Yeah. Do you want to know the next couple of games for Boston? Let's try to predict Boston's first loss. Monday night, they play Minnesota.
That could actually be hard.
I mean, Timberwolves are good.
In Minnesota.
Yeah. There's you got altitude, you got the cold.
All right. Let's say they get past that one. Wednesday.
No, that's it. It's
All right,
over. They're losing to
5-1.
Minnesota. Lock it in.
Okay.
I'll eat a
5-1.
Boston Celtics ticket if they beat Minnesota.
We can't keep eating tickets.
I haven't
the
had
pod
any
doesn't make
tickets
enough
yet.
money for this yet.
I haven't had any tickets. It's just one ticket bet.
After that, they play Philadelphia on Wednesday in Philly.
These are brutal games, man. These are like
Mm.
really tough. I thought it was gonna be like Portland and the Jazz and
Oh, don't
Memphis.
worry. After these two, it goes Brooklyn, Toronto, New York, back to Philly, Toronto, Memphis, Charlotte.
Where's a schedule loss in there? What's second night of a back-to-back on the road?
Second night of a back-to-back on the road. I'm so glad you asked that. The first night is Memphis, and the second night is Charlotte.
Those are two
Can I
pretty easy
mention?
teams.
Can I mention about Toronto? As we're recording, the Raptors have stormed all the way back and tied it up versus Spurs. I believe it's
Wow.
Spurs ball with 13 seconds left.
Ooh.
Pascal Siakam is 1 for 9 currently. Wembanyama 16 points.
All right.
Currently is a Raptors coaches challenge. Let's see where that goes.
I mean,
I'm
that
bringing that up
is
on the
that is
side.
as much of a good segue as we will ever get to talking about Victor Wembanyama. The
Mhm.
man, the myth, the Phoenix Suns bane, their destroyer. How are we feeling about Wembanyama for MVP?
Honestly, kind of good. Like pretty good about it. He is
Spurs make the
19.
playoffs. He's MVP.
He's destructive. Like I don't think we've ever seen a rookie be this impactful since like LeBron or Wilt Chamberlain. Like I mean I don't want to be like crazy, but he was the greatest prospect ever coming in. We knew that was coming, and now he is this like 7'5" guy with who's just destroying the dimensions of basketball. Like he makes defensively, is he the most impactful defender in the league right now? Is he top
Yes and
3 at
no.
least? Can we say like
Mhm.
he's huge? You can't like plays that you wouldn't even consider as like, oh, he's gonna contest this or he's gonna block that. He's in the way, and because he's so mobile and he's so tall and his arms are so long, and then you can just kind of throw him entry passes anywhere. Like you can throw it just like you could close your eyes and just kind of blindly huck it up there, and he just comes down with it and then can finish around the rim. Like
Yeah.
post players have lost their kind of value over years because like entry passes are tough and it's not that good of a play and blah blah blah. But he's such a good passer from those positions, and you'll never fuck up an entry pass because you just throw it like 10 feet in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way he catches those lobs is just insane. Because I was watching him and Trey Jones run a pick and roll, or like the pass was up there and it was not a good pass. And then he just Gumby armed got it and put it in. I was like, oh, that's the margin of error. If it's anywhere up there,
Yeah.
I think it was against Drew Eubanks, and he was just like, yeah, Drew's a
Yep.
pretty athletic guy, but nowhere close.
And he had a crazy one against Booker where like the ball was like over his head and like he had his back to the rim and he didn't even like couldn't even see the rim and he just freaking put the ball in.
Mhm.
Like it's crazy that he had this much hype and he's like better than we thought he was going to be.
Yeah, now it's all just health, because that's the other thing that
Yeah.
we always talk about with these huge guys of like, hey, can you stay healthy for the course of a 82 game season and 13 years of this? And so, yeah, I'm trying not to like get too excited for him, but
Yeah.
he's been everything advertised.
I had a take pre-draft, which I want to bring up again because I feel like it's even better now. It's kind of a hot take. I said that there are only two players, two professional basketball players in the world who have a chance to be better than Michael Jordan. It's LeBron and it's Wemby. It was a spicy take, and I like it even more now.
That's a great take. He has the physical tools to do just fucking anything. Like there's no limit to how far we can get on this. I was gonna note his block numbers are currently 2.2 per game on 29 minutes per game, which aren't like isn't as crazy as I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be like 3.5 per game. But honestly, I like him defensively more now than I did when I thought he'd be this like shot blocking demon. Because he understands better than anyone else. Like just standing there with his long ass arms in the air is such a good defensive play. Like you don't have to block something to be an incredible defender. He should have talked to Dwight Howard. Like 11-year-old Wembanyama should have 7-year-old like in 2011 or something should have talked to Dwight and be like, you don't have to block it out of bounds. Like you can just kind of block it. Like just put your arms in the air.
Yeah.
So,
And
not to go on too much of a tangent, but there was an awesome Kirk Goldsberry piece after Dwight led the league in blocks for a couple of years about how much he affected guys' field goal percentage just by his like presence out there. And there was like a fear factor. So I'm not saying that like blocking them out of bounds was good or bad, but like Wemby doesn't have that many blocks because Wemby has this fear factor. You watch him play, and I might be getting this wrong. I don't have my notes up, but like Kenneth Bates Diop drove against him and like got in the lane and like kind of pump faked, and Wemby was just there straight up, and he's like, "I'm gonna pass. Like I don't want any part of this. And so the block numbers come down because guys just aren't willing to try.
I feel bad for every other prospect just for the rest of time. Because we're gonna see this Wemby season and be like he's gonna be like an all-star, like fringe all NBA guy right now, and like the next great prospect. It's like, yeah, nah. Like, what's Karl Anthony Towns as a rookie? If this is what we're getting right now.
Yeah. Dylan, you were gonna say something?
I'm half watching the end of Raptors Spurs, and Wemby just gave up an offensive rebound to tie the game with 1 second left on the clock. So there's still some work to do.
Ooh.
I think rebounding is
There
probably the
is.
biggest thing that he needs to work on. I've got his just basic defense and rebounding numbers up here. His field goal defensive rebounds, so the percentage of opponent shots that he rebounds, is about 20%, which is quite low for a big man. But the block numbers, let's not get carried away by saying, he's not averaging 3 blocks, so he's not blocking a lot of shots. He's still blocking over 4% of opponents' shots, which is 98th percentile among big men. So he is still a ridiculous block guy. And probably the most random and interesting one, like it's small sample size. There can't have even been this many, but he offensively rebounds 10% of his team's free throw misses, which is just like
That's
a
fucking
awesome
crazy.
and random stat.
That's a real
one
strategy they could do, though, right? Like, you could just miss it in his direction.
That's one of the benefits of being 7 foot, 17, like this guy is. Like, I love that he actually uses his length to do things like that.
Did you see the picture of him next to Durant at the free throw line? Like
Yeah,
they're lined
yeah.
up for a rebound.
Yeah.
And
But,
I
like,
think
the why they got a small guy on Wemby tweet.
yeah. Yeah, but like if you take these players at their supposed listed heights, Durant is listed at 6'9". I think we all believe he's taller. Wemby is listed at 7'3". I think we all believe he's taller. That's 6 inches of difference. That is the same difference between Durant and like Patrick Beverly. So like if you're thinking of like we're gonna throw Beverly at Durant,
God.
like
Yeah.
that is that level of difference. Wemby is that big. It's been insane.
Spurs are about to inbound.
I will say,
Let's
Edge of our seats.
Guys,
let's
this
see
is-
if they can get a Wemby alley-oop for the win.
There's nothing
Yeah.
better for
He's
recorded
such a big
podcasts.
draw that we can't even do our job properly.
Mhm.
All right, pulling up the game.
You can't take your eyes off him.
This is a
Spurs-
lob to him, right? There has to
Yeah,
be.
Spurs
There's
inbounding the ball, 1.2 on the clock.
there's
Will we
no
get a
way.
Wemby alley-oop for the win?
The best thing for recorded content is live reactions.
Right,
It
so
just
hands the
ages
ball away, never mind.
beautifully. It's a long ass timeout. We take like back to back timeouts.
I might be ahead of you.
Are you watching? You might be. I'm on Streamies, which is
Okay.
sorry,
It's
is it over?
spoiler. Sohan just throws the ball away. We're going overtime. Let's
right.
get back on track. Nate, what was next up for us?
You sons of bitches. All right. What is up next for us beyond and Wemby being insanely good? I don't
I have
know.
something.
What do you got, Aaron?
I have another comment on your video asking for topics. And
Yeah.
the question is from Thickman Inc., who I think I'm friends with him. Who wins a game? Who wins a 7-game series between the Bulls and the Grizzlies? Hot topic.
Ooh. I mean, I would assume 7-game series is the end of the year when Ja's back.
Right now. Right now.
Right now.
I'll tell you.
fuck.
I can't tell you who wins, but I'll tell you who loses, and it's everyone that has to watch that series.
I kind of like the Bulls. I kind of like just in
the
terms
Bulls
of like
are the
shot
right
making
answer.
and playmaking,
Yeah.
and like bad offense gets worse in the playoffs. So I think Memphis would average 88 points per game.
Yeah.
And you pair that with so many playoff series are decided by the best player in the series, and Zach LaVine is a very disappointing guy for as your number one option. All of his great shot creation doesn't ever lead to efficient offense, but he is still clearly the best player in that series from
Over
an offensive perspective.
offense perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was like, what happened to my boy Jaren Jackson?
Yeah, what happened to
Yeah,
him?
this Bulls
He's
team is
done
so
nothing all year.
Guys,
This Bulls team is so depressing to look at. It's okay. DeMar DeRozan's averaging 21 points on 44% shooting. Levine 22 on 40. Vucevic 16 on 48. Yuck. Not good.
yeah. I've watched 24 games. Not a single one of them have included the Chicago Bulls because I'm just not interested. Like, I know what this team is. And did you see their last game? They started Torrey Craig over Patrick Williams.
Pat Williams, yeah.
If you're giving up hope on Pat Williams, this is just a lost season. This just does not matter. You do not need to exist as a franchise anymore. I've been trying to avoid saying the words blow it up because every time I do, TikTok will not post that video for like 3 hours. And I'm like, damn, don't
interesting.
be
problematic, mate.
violations.
I've never thought about that. I just feel like the Chicago Bulls need to blow it up. Blow up Chicago. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, no, it's
It's like a euphemistic child safe, TikTok safe term for blow it up.
Oh, it's just like balloon animals. We're talking about blowing up a balloon animal.
They need to balloon.
Yeah.
We all good, guys?
Yeah, I think we are all good on Chicago.
That in general. Have you dried the well of basketball ideas? I just almost reaching an hour. That's all. Go ahead.
I got one more thing, which is a thought that I had the other day, which is I hope I didn't say this last week, but the fact that Chicago is such an uninteresting and boring team that no one ever wants to watch, I think is a significant outlier. One good thing about this year is, coming into the season, there are always bad teams, but this year I feel like there aren't really any boring teams. Like even like this terrible Washington Wizards team is still interesting to watch. Like the Grizzlies can't win a game, but there's still hope there. Teams like Charlotte and Detroit and Houston.
Is
they're all,
Utah
like,
interesting to watch?
No. That was
Okay,
gonna
is
be
that
my
the
one
one?
counter. But like you're right. There are 28 fun watchable teams. I'm gonna say 27. I don't find Washington fun to watch either. But
you don't like
it's not
Jordan
necessarily
Poole,
fun,
dude,
but
Jordan
it's still interesting. Like there's still when you tune into a game, you can be like, oh, I want to see like if Jordan Poole is going to look like a guy that can be a future number one option on a on an offense. Like there's something compelling in almost in almost every game.
No, he could not. It's just crazy. Like I have my best friend doesn't really know much about basketball, but he joined a dynasty league that me and Nate are both in, and he took Jordan Poole, and he's like super into it. And he's like, Jordan Poole is like he's gonna 29 points per game. Like I'm excited to see that. And I was like explaining to him like I was like Jordan Poole doesn't give a fuck. Like he doesn't care. Like and I was showing him the quotes of how Poole said his legacy is cemented after the title, and he's like, I just don't understand like why he'd say that. Like I just don't really get like what's going on over there. And like he's just like getting more and more defeated over time. He's just like I just don't understand why Poole's not playing well. Like I just really anticipate a better season from him.
Do you think of any historical parallels where a guy has come from, off of a championship team as a lower option and then gets thrown into a bad team as their number one option? Can you think of any similar historical parallels and how has that turned out for those guys?
Usually poorly. I mean, the closest one I can think of is not quite championship, but is the James Harden going to Houston from OKC as like the clear sixth man.
Yeah,
it's a KG system.
But I remember Robert Horry went from Houston to Phoenix after being like the fifth man on the Rockets team that won 2 titles. And Phoenix was like really into, could we make him a star? And it was like, oh no, this is like a really good role player, but not a star quality guy. So
I guess another similar one in a
Kuzma?
way. Yeah, maybe that. Or the exact same thing, straight from the Warriors dynasty team. Harrison Barnes is the number one option in Dallas.
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes has been as good as he is now since he was born. Like he came out of the womb just as he is. He is unchanged. Seriously, I mean, he is like the numbers. Like he had a huge first game. His numbers have already regressed to last season's averages.
He's a solid fifth option throughout his entire career.
Yeah, I can't believe that you guys got excited for the Harrison Barnes game. I saw it in the group chat, Aaron. You can't try to hide it.
I was excited. He was great. I didn't think he was going to be anything. I didn't think that was going to go anywhere. I have to note, we won the Harrison Barnes trade. We gave him, it was like a salary dump from Dallas for Zebo, who obviously never played for them, and Justin Jackson. And overall, that was a good trade.
Yeah, solid. Worked out. In our pre-pod discussion, Aaron, you had hit some takes on Utah, or at least wanted to mention Utah being terrible. Floor is yours.
It's not a super fleshed out take. I thought they'd be pretty bad, and they're really not great. They're 2-5 currently. But I'm not sure what their net rating is. Let's see.
Not good.
Negative 7.1. I mean, the Kings blew them out in the opener, if that tells you anything at this point. And then last season, a huge part of their hot start was hot shooting, but also like Mike Conley is like really established veteran point guard, could help facilitate for a young team. And now it's like Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton. Like I don't think that's got to be the worst backcourt in the league, right? Or at least tandem of point guards.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not great. They have Keontae George, right?
Keontae George. Yeah.
They have nice
future.
It's just they have no facilitating. And I saw a tweet today that offered Harrison Barnes and 3 firsts for Lauri Markkanen. What do you guys think about that?
I think there's going to be a fire sale on Markkanen, or like whenever they try to move him, there's going to be a bidding war, because I don't know what his salary's at, but I don't feel like it's that insane that it eliminates many teams. And I've kind of been thinking, the 76ers got a fair amount of assets for James Harden. Could he be their big target?
That's nice. That's interesting.
Or at least a starting point.
That'd be an awesome fit, just in terms of what Markkanen brings.
I'm pulling up his salary now. He is at, oh God. He is their third highest paid player, behind John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, and Colin Sexton.
When did Colin Sexton get that money?
I think in the sign and trade to get it Donovan Mitchell.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So he's at 17 mil. So
I do like
straight
Colin
up Marcus
Sexton at
Morris
times.
works.
I think
salary.
Okay. I don't know if the numbers back it up, but Colin Sexton is one of the best eye test defenders in the league. Like he just gets in front of people, like crazy wide stance. Like he's just an animal. I don't know if there's any evidence that that's effective defense or he actually stops his opponents from scoring, but it's very intimidating.
It's not.
Man.
Yeah. I watched them play. I've watched Utah play twice now. Once against the Clippers, once against the Magic, which the Magic game, I was like, what is wrong with Paolo? Like, why hasn't Paolo been good? Watched their last 2 games. Paolo's been fantastic. Apparently, the only thing wrong with Paolo was just I wasn't watching the games. So, Magic fans, you're welcome. I brought him back. I revived his career, resuscitated it. But Utah, listen, we all know Lakers players get a lot of hype that they don't deserve. And the Lakers tried to hype the hell out of all their young guys. THT wishes he was Eric Gordon on like an average day. He wishes he was Eric Gordon right now. Like I'm not sure that THT is better than Eric Gordon this season. Like
that's so
he's your starting
that's
2
vengeful Lakers shit, Nate. You're just taking it out on old Lakers guys.
He's just not good. He kept like driving in there and would like try to finish at the rim, and I'm sure.
Do you think he's better than prime Kyle Lowry?
His wingspan, though.
Prime Kyle Lowry?
It's a dog.
Yeah, that's the Lakers wouldn't trade him for prime Kyle Lowry because they thought he was going to be better.
No.
That's right.
To take a bigger picture on Utah, I think one thing about their demise and also the Grizzlies is that it's really clarified the Western Conference. We're coming into this season, but you know, us and everyone else was like, there are like 11 good teams in the West. Like, how the fuck are we going to get to, you know, a clear 10 or a clear 8? And the Grizzlies being bad, Utah being bad, like that really does sort of, you know, clarify and stratify things.
Yeah,
Can we
except for
do-
Phoenix just falling apart and being in that lower tier right now.
They're 3 and 4. Positive
Yeah.
point differential.
Because they got the win while we were recording this pod.
That's true.
Yeah.
Can we do just a minute? Go ahead, Don. Sorry.
Just quickly on Phoenix, you maybe don't need a point guard when you've got Devin Booker and Bradley Beal on the floor. But when you've got neither of those guys, then you actually probably do need a point guard. So, yeah, that's, I don't want to say an oversight because you don't really plan for your two, you know, your starting backcourt to both be injured at the same time. But that's something that Phoenix, you know, a flaw in their roster.
Yeah.
And I think Bradley Beal's really hurt. I don't think they want to admit that. I think he's going to be out for a long time. I'm guessing he injured himself in preseason and they kind of tucked it away, and then like they, you know, like an hour before the game, or it was like the morning of opening night, they're like, oh, and Bradley Beal's out, by the way, or he's day to day. I remember he went from healthy to questionable to healthy to questionable to healthy to questionable, all in the course of like, I mean, he kept going back and forth. I saw the video of him taking shots in the gym. Doesn't look great. Like, doesn't look like someone who's ready to play NBA basketball. So they're going to be without him for a while. But I think when he does come back, the lack of point guard is actually fine. Like Dylan is saying.
I will say, watching Campaign play in Milwaukee, I don't think Phoenix misses him.
Yeah, I know what's going on.
Even with all of their injuries, I think they're probably okay. That seems to be pretty inconsequential. But, gentlemen, we have 30 seconds left in Raptors Spurs. Where can the people find you?
Possible Chairs on TikTok and this podcast all the time.
Dylan?
On the Hoops Temple podcast.
You can find me here at Hoops Temple Podcast. You can also email us, hoopstemple@gmail.com. We'd love to get more questions from y'all. Please hit us up.
I'm not a podcast host. I'm a podcast host.